Now, the second part of the show, we are going to be talking about how to rear teenagers. Is it easy? And a man who's got a new book out is going to be giving us the tips on this. Karen is going to have her business report, and we also have a big issue on politics. In other words, do people know how governments are actually formed? What do you think as well about Sinn Féin planning all these rallies around the country? Is it a good idea? Somebody described them this morning as kind of something that Donald Trump might do. Are we seeing the start of something new in Irish politics, where we're going to have rallies around the country done by various political parties? Are Sinn Féin right to do this? Let us know, please. 083 3333 975. You can call Laura on 051 846 123. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Email Deise today at wlrfm.com. Regarding the restaurants, Damien, what about a restaurant in the county that sold vouchers up to including Christmas Eve and then didn't reopen after Christmas? I think, are these vouchers acceptable now or not? I don't know why the restaurant closed, so we just don't know about that. Damien, the carry-on with multiple booking restaurants and booking multiple restaurants and no-shows should be made socially unacceptable. It's the height of bad manners. We have come to be a very bad-mannered society, and that is from Jim. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the hurling. Waterford had a great win yesterday in the Senior Hurling League, Allianz Senior Hurling League against Galway. Shane Shiner-Hearn is one of WLR's co-commentators, and he is joining me on the line. I don't think the line is great, but we'll give it a go. Shiner, good morning. How are you?
Very good, Damien. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're in Tallow on the way to Cork at the minute. How are they all in West Waterford this morning?
A bit happier, I suppose, but I didn't talk to too many kids at early yet, I suppose.
Tell me, the newspapers and Liam Cahill described it as a great, absolutely thrilling game. Pleasure to win tight matches, he said. Anytime you get a win is a good win, but yesterday's performance and result was particularly pleasing, wasn't it? I
felt that Waterford were in a good place coming into this game. They'd shown great character to come back against Cork, had a good win against Westmeath. I was really glad we didn't play Limerick last week, as it turns out. But I just felt the character really was the big thing that was shown, particularly in the last 10 minutes, and the discipline. There was a time there when they knew that they couldn't give away a free, and they did, and saw it again to the end. So I think the big thing taken from yesterday was that the character was shown. And I think kind of teams show character when they're going well in training, and I think that all augurs well, that training is going well and they're doing it on the pitch as well.
Another pleasing aspect, the fact that there was 9 different scorers yesterday. Pádraig Mahoney leading the way with 8, including 2 from play, but 9 different scorers. I'd say Liam will be happy with that.
Yeah, I suppose hurling nowadays, when you look at some of the other results around the place, free takers are having huge scores in matches. The way the referees are refereeing games, as the fellow said, and Pádraig did brilliantly yesterday. But like it goes to show that even Stephen Bennett wasn't on frees yesterday, but he still contributed to the scoring. And like all around, like Jack Fagan with 2 points, very good. But you had the likes of Callum Lyons and Kevin Moore come up from wing back scoring and things like that, So yeah, I was very happy with our scoring balance and the way we spread it around the field, in fairness.
It was one of those games that there weren't too many goal chances created. I know Stephen Bennett, Patrick Curran maybe, but Galway didn't create that many either.
Yeah, it's true, and I think, in fairness to our defence set up well yesterday, we kind of seem to be playing Jack Prendergast out kind of around. We're not playing a sweeper, but we're playing maybe 3 midfielders, and it allows kind of someone to help out in the back line all the time. And, if you remember back again to the Cork game in the first 2 or 3 minutes when we were opened up a few times, I think the lads have learned from that. And as I said, we're not particularly playing a sweeper, but there's always an extra man in defence. Like on occasion yesterday, we were probably playing with just Stephen Bennett as a one-man full forward line, because we do play rather deep, if not play with a sweeper.
Billy Nolan didn't have too much to do in goals, but what he did, he was playing obviously in place of Stephen O'Keefe. He did well, and his puckouts were good. The long puckouts were good.
Yeah, I would say, while Billy didn't get many, shot-stopping opportunities, possibly, as I say, that's a credit to the defence. I thought his use of the ball when he had it, his puckouts, like we mentioned in the commentary yesterday, kind of went back a little bit narrower, and sometimes it's hard to keep the puck out away from the sideline, but kind of a puck out on the sideline doesn't give your forward any chance, or your attacking team any chance at all. But I just thought in general play, when he picked up ball in loose play, he was very careful. He was placing the pass and what have you. So yeah, I think it's a good day for Billy. And Stephen O'Keefe is our number one goalie. He's a former All-Star, what have you. But it's great to have backup from Billy like that,
Talk to me about Austin Gleeson. Second half being moved back into centre back position. He made his presence felt, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought Austin kind of would say the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game seemed to kind of pass him by a little bit, but he came into it gradually, and once he got into centre back, I thought he really kind of opened the shoulders, and you could see the old Austin Gleeson. He was leaping into the air. His athleticism is something unbelievable. I thought the ref was harsh on him once or twice, but you could see, and kind of, Galway were coming at him and kind of hitting him and giving him a bit of special treatment, but he felt he was on his day. And I know what, a day like yesterday afterwards, the harder you hit me, the more I like it, bring it on type thing. And he was really, I'd say he was hoping that game would go on for another 10 or 15 minutes. He was enjoying himself so much.
He was, yeah. Kevin Moran put in a great performance. All the lads, Jamie Barron particularly, he some effort from him.
Yeah, in fairness to Jamie, I thought he's touched maybe because he hasn't done much hurling recently, and he kind of came into the game and kind of started with say at centre forward, which wouldn't be familiar for him, but once he got out the centre field, he was doing his rove and roll again, and he got a great point in the second half, kind of coming onto it from right side of midfield. He loves that area, kind of moving into that space and taking his scores, So it's great to get the likes of Jamie Barron back in and Austin Gleeson. There was 3 changes before the game for Waterford, but they definitely didn't weaken the team, and to have Jamie Barron back competing and Austin Gleeson as well for Waterford and for Liam Cahill.
Yeah, and you know better than anybody, Shane, having a strong bench, having lads to come in that will in no way deplete the side, and the likes of young Hogan coming in and getting that point, it's just fabulous to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, Peter Hogan, I thought he did very well. He got on a lot of ball in the second half. In the time he was on, he got on a lot of ball. And, his score was very good. It was very well taken the way he kind of kinked in with his right, made a bit of space to shoot off his left. And, we had missed 1 or 2 chances, in a tight game. Now, I must say, Galway in the first half had some very poor wides. They had possibly... I think it was 9 wides.
9 wides in the first half, yeah, into the wind.
4, but something like 4 of those were very, very scoreable.
They were, yeah.
So, our wides tally wasn't too bad. I think we had 2 in the first half and 5 in the second half or something like that.
Yeah.
So, in general, our shooting boots weren't too bad. And I thought we made more use of the ball that we got into the forward line than Galway did. In the first half, I thought we were living on scraps a bit in the forward line. And yet we scored 11 points at half time, and unlucky maybe not to get a goal or 2 near the end from Steve Bennett and Patrick Curran. So yeah, we did well in the forward line for the ball, and I must say I thought there was a better class of ball and a better standard of ball and a lower type ball going into our forward line than happened against Cork. I thought against Cork our ball into our forward line was very high. Deise Hutchins was in there, loves the low ball, and it didn't happen against Cork. But I thought it was a vast improvement on the quality ball coming into the forward line yesterday.
Yes, I'd agree with you. And in terms of the defence, as you say, Callum Lyons, Conor Prunty, the defence showed very well. Next up is a visit to Tip. I think Liam Cahill will look forward to that, won't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's a big day for Liam, and it's kind of a nervous day. And I think sometimes what you see is the lads will take over the dressing room and kind of say, let's do it for Liam. You know what I mean? Kind of they know the pressure that's on him up there. But I think he knew that coming down here, that he has to face it to his old people at some stage, But he'll relish that as well. And maybe to a certain extent there's a little bit of kind of, a feeling about for Liam that kind of he might have thought he should have got the job when it came up, and he didn't get it, so a little bit of payback maybe. And there's nothing like in the GA and Hurling having a little bit of a kind of chip on your shoulder, if you know what I mean.
I know it's sizing up to be a very good summer. You look at the other matches, to how close Kilkenny and Clare were, and obviously Limerick and Cork, Wexford are going well. It's really simmering up nicely, and Waterford just coming good at the right time as well.
Yeah, I suppose if you look at the quality of games that Liam is going to get now over the next few weeks, a game against Galway yesterday, Tipperary this week coming. We don't quite know yet the fixture for the Limerick game, but it looks like kind of we're playing Galway, Tipperary, Limerick. And then from what I can gather now at this stage, we're in at least a quarter-final. So there's 4 fantastic matches in 4 weeks, leading into then kind of, we say, a bit of a break for the clubs, which is good for players to kind of go to a different environment for 2 or 3 weeks. And then you come back into a Munster Championship that is going to be so dog-eat-dog. Like, you look at Limerick are playing very well, Tipperary are Munster champions. You probably pick, to a certain extent, from at this stage, you pick that the 2 of those are going to come out of Munster. But who's going to be the third team to come out of Munster? You know, so like Cork, Waterford, Clare, you know, that like there's some battlefield, like, you know, and like it all goes well. And you look at the Leinster Championship, something similar. Galway didn't come out of Leinster last year; they'll be sure that they must have this year. You'll have Kilkenny probably coming out, and then and Wexford playing so well. Does that leave Dublin out of the frame? Dublin will want to make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah, it's shaping up to be a good year that way.
Shane Shiner-Hearn, thanks very much, and safe travelling to Cork. Talk to you soon, okay? Thanks very much, Shane. Sorry about the phone line there, folks. Special mention to everybody involved in Ferrybank Soccer Club as well, football club. Hard luck yesterday, beaten on penalties by Old Bank, I think it is. No, Old Town, but hard luck Ferrybank in the Junior Cup, and also to Stradbally as well. The Blues are playing tonight. Anybody around Waterford City and County, South Kilkenny, Carrick, Clonmel, wherever. Big night in the RSC tonight, and the kick-off is at 7 o'clock. It's earlier than previously advertised, so kick-off is at 7 o'clock. You'll hear more about that from our news and sports teams throughout the day. Well done also to all involved with Waterford Women's Gaelic football over the weekend, and the Camogies Miners, and to everybody involved. And a big win for Hibs against Ballinroad in the Waterford Junior League. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to Richard about screenagers. Do you have a screenager? Do you know what a screenager is? We'll tell you all in a second. Ferrybank lost to Oliver Bond Celtic. Yes, Oliver Bond Celtic. I couldn't remember the name of the team they lost to. Hard luck to everybody in Ferrybank with that. A couple of texts just in. Damien, I think Sinn Féin are right to protest in March. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael just trying to keep them out of government. It is a disgrace. Damien, I know nothing about politics, but even to me it's certain that Sinn Féin will not be in the government, so it makes no difference what posturing and what shapes are going to be doing or how many marches that they're going to take place. We could have another general election, says Johnny. We won't go into that just now. I think we'll go to parenting instead. How are you, Richard?
How are you getting on? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. You don't want to talk about the formation of the government, do you?
I don't. I think it's beyond my remit today.
Well, some of the stuff in this book could actually help them. Parenting the Screenager, a practical guide for parents of the modern child. And people would know you quite well as well in this area because you have a regular column in the Examiner every Thursday. You write every Thursday, yeah. And you're a systemically trained family psychotherapist registered with the Family Therapy Association of Ireland. Tell us, what is a screenager, please?
Well, a screenager is anyone really from the age between 8 and 24 who's on their devices, ubiquitous internet connection, and so they're on their devices a lot. And probably every family in Ireland, every family around the world is suffering with this at the moment. So that's why I wrote the book. I write that column, as you said there, every Thursday, and the volume of people writing to me, asking me questions about different things, about how to go about gaming, online bullying, cyberbullying. I receive every week after my column a lot of requests to talk about a topic. So I just thought the best way to reach out to everyone is to write a book and to put really practical tips, because I read so many books and they're so laced with theory and they're not for everyone to read. They're for academics to read. Well, this is a practical guide. This is for everyone.
Yeah, it's not one of these big thesis books. It's quite short, as you say. It's only 130 pages or whatever the case is. And anybody who has any questions, we know we don't have too long to talk, but anybody any questions, 083 333 975. If you have a teenager in the house who is one of these screenagers, the topics that you cover include boundaries, social media, gaming, communication. Just on the gaming thing, I was just reading the chapter about that, and the advice that you'd have if there's a son, let's say a 16-year-old son, who is spending an inordinate amount of time in his bedroom on a screen, gaming. What can parents say or do in that situation?
Yeah, well, I think I start the book with a chapter on boundaries, And it's really important that boundaries are in place, because boundaries are what make a family healthy and happy, right? And so if your child is gaming, excessively gaming, the World Health Organization has named it as a new mental health condition. And the American Psychiatric Association has said that, this is addictive. There's no doubt about it. It prompts neurological responses that like reward and pleasure. So this is addictive. So we can no longer fool ourselves and say it's a benign activity. So parents really need to get a policy in a family and think, how do I go about protecting our child here? And you're right, it is generally boys with the games and then girls with Instagram. But so if your child is excessively gaming, you have to bring in a boundary. And it's about, at this stage, if they're 16 and you're bringing in a boundary for the first time, it's about rowing back. It's not about bringing in too much change. It's about bringing in a little bit of change. So you're teaching them how to navigate a boundary. And they will break it, and they're going to make mistakes. And it's very important, and that's what the book outlines, that boundaries must never be destructive. When your child breaks a boundary, you must not annihilate their spirit. You must show them that the boundary is in place, it will come back into place, and that there's consequences and there's ramifications for their behaviour.
Yeah. On the another chapter you had on about online pornography and what age, again, let's focus on a 16-year-old boy, for example. You would be able to say to maybe a 10 or 12 or 13-year-old child, I want to check your browser history. But at some stage, the 16-year-old boy will say, no, you're not checking my phone.
Yeah, and I also say the teenage years are about a held autonomy. If you give your child complete autonomy, it's neglect, I think, to be honest. If they're out there navigating everything on their own and there's no supervision, if they don't feel that they're being minded, they're being neglected. They have to be minded in this. I mean, 16 years of age, you want them to have a little bit of autonomy, but you have to be keeping your eye on what they're viewing. And education is key to this in the school system, rolling out education where we teach them about sending images. And I see it in the book, there's case studies there about different students who sent out images. Once an image is sent there, it's in perpetuity, it's out there forever. And it's not about breaking your child's, it's not about taking away their right to anonymity. It's about protecting them because they don't have the skills yet to be. Their brain isn't wired yet to be risk adverse, so they don't understand the future potential for devastation if they do view, say, extreme, hardcore imagery, or if they do send an image out there. We all know that pornography dehumanizes women and it gives boys the wrong idea about intimacy. Look, that's not just my theory. That's a fact. We all know it, right? And we know that this kind of stuff is devastating for a young mind, especially a vulnerable young mind. And in the Anna Kriegel case, boy A had viewed so much extreme, online material and bestiality and really heavy stuff that disturbed this young mind.
Yeah. There's so much in the book and very simple advice. Anxiety is another issue that you cover quite well, and also I suppose perfectionism when it comes to, let's say, young girls, especially in body images. Is it something that's becoming more prevalent, do you think, in terms of the anxiety that young girls can feel regarding body image?
You're right. I think perfectionism is a huge thing that young adolescents are labouring with. I suppose we've always had it a little bit, but in the modern times with Instagram and images and looking a certain way and doing the perfect exam, and I work in the school systems and I hear perfectionism in front of me a lot, and there's nothing more anxiety provoking than chasing something that you can't achieve, because there's no perfect exam, there's no perfect look, there's no perfect picture, and it's about teaching our children that those images, especially things like Love Island, really promote this kind of thing where you have overly buffed boys and cosmetically enhanced girls. And we have to tell our kids this isn't reality. That's and the means to achieving that buffed body isn't always healthy. And you see that if you're, I've talked to the Merchants Quay Needle Centre, the demographic has changed there. There's a rise in adolescents, the old adolescents, let's say from age 17 onwards, accessing needle exchange because they're trying to take steroids for the summer holiday. And we see it there, a young boy in 2018, I think he might have been from Waterford, took stanozolol and ingested a hormone and died. So perfectionism, body image, all that kind of stuff. Our children need to be protected from it. They need to have the messages they're receiving interpreted correctly for them.
They do, yeah. You've got some very good simple advice, 5 steps to a better night's sleep as well, 5 simple tips there. And you end the book by a chapter on the modern family. You do get some people, adults over 50, 60 years of age maybe, or others that just say, What do children really have to worry about these days? Like, we grew up in far tougher times and things were a lot more difficult. Do you still get that with certain people?
You do. You get that a lot. We call them the snowflake generation, and we call them all this kind of all these pejorative designed to diminish them. I think every generation looks back at the one coming and criticises them and derides them. I think this generation are a phenomenal generation. They've got great things that we didn't have. They have no interest in sexuality, like we were obsessed with it. I mean, that kind of stuff. Really, they don't labour with that like we used to. They're embracing their identity more than we ever did because the space wasn't there for them. I think the idea that they have it too easy, I would say I'm glad I'm not a teenager in today's world because of technology and because of impulse control and sending out images. They have to navigate a very complicated matrix of social interactions. I think the thing designed to connect them has actually disconnected them. I think technology has interrupted communication. I think it's interrupted relationships, peer relationships, and we're mammals. We love to be connected, and I think it's interrupted that. So I think they need minding with all of that stuff. They need to be, almost pushed out the door into real life activities, and they need to go out there like we didn't go to the cinema. And we need to help them with the devices that they're not on them all the time. Because if you say to yourself they can navigate this themselves, they're going to be on it all the time. They don't have it in them to regulate it.
They don't.
And that's not just teenagers. That's the adult world as well.
Yeah, Richard, I can't recommend the book highly enough. It's O'Brien Press, Richard Hogan, Parenting the Screen Age, or A Practical Guide to Parents of Modern Child. The best of luck with the sales, Richard, and lovely to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. All the very best. As I say, Parenting the Screen Age, or A Practical Guide to Parents of the Modern Child. I don't see a price on it, but I wouldn't say it's too expensive. We're going to go to a lady now who had an experience this morning at the hospital. Good morning, Jane. I think we're going to call you this morning. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, hi Damien, how are you?
Hiya Jane, listen, thanks for taking our call and sorry for the short notice. You had a very difficult experience this morning. Talk us through it, please.
Yeah, this is my second attempt at having this appointment sorted. I was scheduled to go in this morning to be there for before 7:30, arrived about 7:10. Went to the ward that I was told to sign in on and then was sent back down to admissions.
And do you want to mention the procedure we're going to have?
Yeah, I was having a hysterectomy.
Hysterectomy, okay.
Yeah. Went back down and sat in admissions, then checked in and I was told that they were waiting on word from the bed manager as to what ward I was to go on. So we were sitting there from 7:30 till nearly 9 o'clock, and then I was told, yes, I was to go to the gynae ward. Went up to gynae with all my paperwork. Was sitting in gynae for the best part of 35 minutes where a lady approached me and told me my appointment had been cancelled due to lack of beds. And I said to her, why am I only hearing this now? I'm here since 7:05 this morning. She said, well, the meeting was only held at 9 o'clock. And unfortunately, you're one of the cancellations today. And I said, and when is it going to be rescheduled? And I was told, I don't know.
So you were...
I have two small kids to try and arrange, and I have to get mother-in-law up at 6:30 this morning to be there for the specified time. And, you're trying to organise work. My husband's trying to organise time off work. Like, as I say, this is the second time of cancellation. Like, so frustrating. It's really annoying. Like,
oh, that's terrible, Jane. That really is. Like, to be in there this morning and then to be told after a few hours, and this is the second time. That's and for such a serious procedure as well. Yeah, like it's not a small operation, it's a massive operation. Like, and to try and plan and organise yourself for the next couple of weeks, it's not easy, especially when you have small kids at home. So, yeah, very frustrated coming over there this morning. Very frustrated. And as for the lady I spoke to, she wasn't a bit civil, a bit. I apologise, there's nothing I can do about it. She said it's out of our hands. The meeting was called. This major operation is cancelled. Simple as that, like, so. Because they don't want to send people home. They want to get the procedures done, but there's just not enough beds. But, like, for you to be told, like, surely there's a better system in place as well, maybe.
Well, there has to be, like, you bring a person down there at 7 o'clock in the morning and then sit there for a couple of hours to be told afterwards. At least let us know the day before. At least I can tell people, look, don't come up in the morning, Mum, it's fine, stay where you are. I don't have to take the girls out of school, so. But it is what it is, isn't it? Unfortunately.
It is. Listen, Jane, mind yourself. I think it's shocking. I think it's terrible, and it's not right.
I don't think it's ever going to change unless something in our government changes. At the minute, it's going to stay the same, and it's worse. It seems to be getting like so.
Well, thanks for coming on, because if your story can, I suppose, help in some way, but we'll see how it goes. Listen, Jane, mind yourself, okay?
Thanks very much, Damien. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for taking our call. That's Jane there about cancellation of her hysterectomy surgery this morning. That's just not on. It's just not on at all. Let us know what you think. 083 333 975. Keep your texts and comments coming in. 083 333 975. Text or WhatsApp, or you can call 051 846 123. Laura's there. She just took a call from a caller a few minutes ago. Her husband was with the GP today. He can barely walk. This is her husband. Was told he needs an X-ray, and the GP told him to contact UHW. We rang. They don't take appointments over the phone. Said to send an appointment card. It'll be around 3 weeks. That is ridiculous. Some texts on the politics. Damien, Mary Butler was on RT yesterday. Maybe she could come on WLR and explain her blue tick issues, and also Keneally canvassing. Damien, Sinn Féin are holding public meetings to listen to the people who vote for us. This is from Councillor John Hearn. And employ us. It's open to everyone. It's not like the Fianna Fáil or the Galway tent where the rich people only come. We're going to stay with politics for a second, because I'm going to talk to Philip Nolan, who is a columnist with the Daily Mail, about are people clueless about politics? Philip, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm very good, Damien, and you?
Are you getting the post-election blues yet?
Well, I just wish that they'd kind of get a move on. You know, it just seems to be a repeat performance now of 2016, doesn't it? Everybody kind of dancing around, but nobody taking the lead.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of prevaricating and posturing. You've been writing that the election revealed that many of us are totally clueless about politics. Explain, please.
Well, just, social media obviously is, it's not the real world, but it is a good barometer of how people are feeling. And it has struck me since the election result was announced just how few people seem to understand how politics actually works. And specifically the fact that a lot of people, and not exclusively younger people, though there is a large cohort involved, but even people my own age, including one college professor with whom I had kind of a back and forth on Twitter, seem to think that getting 24.5% of the vote automatically entitles you to lead government, which of course is absolutely nonsense. I mean, if we applied this logic to referendums, how would a quarter of the people voting yes in a referendum get that legislation, get that amendment passed? It simply wouldn't happen. And for generations in this country, Fianna Fáil was the, if you like, the public vote winner. But that didn't necessarily mean it got to govern, because, if Labour and Fine Gael combined and had a greater number of seats, then they formed the government. It's that simple.
Yeah. Have you anything against Sinn Féin, Philip Nolan?
I would have reservations about Sinn Féin, as I think that a lot of people my age would. I have no reservations whatsoever about their performance in the election and the result. I'm a great believer in democracy, and if 1/4 of the people voted for them, and if they at some point managed to get into government, then that's absolutely fine by me. You can't deny the will of the people, and equally, we all expected post Good Friday Agreement that they would be in government in Northern Ireland in the Assembly. And I think it's mildly hypocritical of us to suggest that what's good enough for our friends and neighbours in Northern Ireland somehow isn't good enough for us.
A lot of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael people have said that 3/4 of the population didn't vote for Sinn Féin. For example, in Wexford, in your constituency just over the water from us, Johnny Myden got 18,717 first preferences. How did Fianna Fáil do?
Well, Fianna Fáil got over 20,000 because they ran 4 candidates. And I think that has distorted how people have perceived this election, insofar as in so many constituencies, Sinn Féin ran only 1 candidate. And what that naturally means is that all the support for the party went to 1 individual. And as a consequence of that, a significant number, I think probably 30-odd Sinn Féin TDs had been elected before 1 Fine Gael one. But that's only because the Fine Gael vote had been spread out among different candidates who got in on subsequent counts. And then the second thing that I've heard people saying is that because all the Sinn Féin people got in on the first count, that somehow that makes those seats, more valuable or more relevant than the seat of somebody who got in on the 12th count and picked up the last seat in a 4 or 5 seat constituency without even reaching the quota. But again, this is a nonsense. I mean, it literally does not matter whether you get in on the first count or whether you get in 3 days later after 27 recounts. A Dáil seat is a Dáil seat. And the percentage that you get of the public vote doesn't necessarily translate exactly to the percentage of seats, insofar as if Sinn Féin got 24.5% of the vote, but they actually, with 37, have ended up with 23.1% of the seats. Now, that's a testament to how our proportional representation system works, but the percentages are not identical.
Yeah, that is true. What about the position of Taoiseach? People saying that Mary Lou should be Taoiseach. That's not necessarily going to happen, is it?
No, it's not. And, I understand that people believe there's a moral argument and that there was a massive vote for change. Though, again, I would kind of slightly if Sinn Féin has a core support like any party. So the number of extra people who voted for it, while definitely larger than other parties which lost votes, nonetheless, it's not a sweeping vote for change. It definitely is a vote for something. But a protest vote, I would imagine, more than anything particularly positive. But equally, when Leo Varadkar took over from Enda Kenny, I saw so many people saying, well, this is ridiculous. I didn't vote for Leo Varadkar to be Taoiseach. But the simple fact is nobody in this country ever has voted for anybody to be Taoiseach. That's not the way our system works. If we're going to vote for individuals, we vote for TDs and we vote for the President. But the Dáil votes the Taoiseach in. It's that simple. No individual in this country has ever voted directly to appoint anybody Taoiseach.
Do you think Sinn Féin are getting a hard time in the media, Philip?
I think they've come under increased scrutiny, and I'm surprised that they're surprised by that, to be honest with you. They now are the second biggest party in the country, and with that, of course, there's going to come great scrutiny. And what's even more obvious, I think, to anybody on the outside who's not, who doesn't feel victimised, is that by definition, a significant number of their TDs are first-time TDs. And first-time TDs of any party always come under scrutiny, because when people don't know anything about them, except for the people who elected them in that constituency, then the rest of the country has a right to know who its national legislators are, what their beliefs are, what they've said in the past, and where they stand on various issues. So, coming under intense scrutiny, having received a number of new seats, is not new. And for all the people who are saying, that this is targeted against Sinn Féin, well, of course, that's absolute nonsense. You know as well as I do that mainstream media have been holding every politician in this country to account for years and years, from Charlie Haughey and Bertie Ahern's finances, to Maria Bailey on the swing, to, Michael Healy-Rae when there were all these mysterious votes coming from phone lines in the Oireachtas when he was on that Wild West reality show, whatever it was called. And this is what we do. This is journalism. And, we live in a robust society where people are held to account. I wish, in fact, that governments held people to account with quite the same vigour as the media does, because it seems to me in Ireland that when something goes wrong, nobody in politics ever is held to account for anything. Nobody takes responsibility. They just bat it on to somebody else. So, for Sinn Féin I'll give you, for instance, when one Sinn Féin TD last week was found that she had been €12,000 in arrears on the rent for a house in the rural resettlement scheme. And the Daily Mail, which I work for, ran the story and got direct quotes from her confirming it. And then the next morning on a radio programme, when Owen O'Brien was asked about it, he said he hadn't read it, he hadn't seen it, he couldn't comment on it, and I doubt the accuracy of it. Which is this is Trumpian. If you want to deflect, you simply say that something is fake news, even though the story had been confirmed by the Sinn Féin TD in question herself. Yeah. And Owen O'Brien, who's a senior member of that party, seriously tries to claim the next morning that he knew nothing about it, and that in the absence, when it was read to him, then decides that the single greatest method of attack is to actually cast doubt on the veracity of the story, even though it had been confirmed by the woman. And this is nonsensical. I
know editorials in newspapers can take certain slants and certain sides, and they're fully entitled to do that, depending on their owners, depending on their political philosophy, and the Daily Mail would have a tradition of taking certain sides. At the same time, those working for the Daily Mail may well present journalism, as you say, straight-up stories. So what about people criticising certain newspapers, saying, they're out to get us?
Well, the victimhood is ever present in Irish society. It always has been. Let's be honest. Everybody thinks people are out to get us. And in fairness, sometimes I'm guilty of this myself, insofar as I think that people who actually have never read the Irish Daily Mail have an opinion about the Irish Daily Mail that is completely at odds with what the paper actually is and what it stands for. And rather ironically, because it actually isn't owned by individually wealthy Irish people, it probably is more detached than any other newspaper in what it doesn't say, because it's beholden to nobody. So, I don't think it's fair to say the Daily Mail ethos always has been in Ireland, always has been that the powerful must be held to account. And that is all we have ever done. And we have done it fairly, and we have done it across the board. As anybody who has read our coverage of any of the big issues of the recent past will know, from the children's hospitals, the national broadband plan to cervical check, all of those things we have been really consistent and strong on. Anybody listening to this, Philip, finally, would you advise them to learn a little bit more about politics, to actually study proportional representation? Are we... Well, I lament the fact that we kind of seem to have abandoned civics, which I suspect you and I both did. Oh, God, I remember the civics class, yeah. Oh, my God. But it was about, society. Whenever it wasn't a DOS class, it was you'd learn a bit there when you weren't DOSing, yeah. It was supposed to be. I mean, in fairness, we had one period that was 12 to 12:30, whereas every other class was 45 minutes. So, that was given over to civics, I think, 2 days a week. But it is important. I mean, that there is a module from primary all the way to Leaving Cert about health, social and personal education. But from what I've seen, a lot of it appears to be focused on the likes of sexual health, on how to stay safe online, all that sort of stuff. But the nitty-gritty of how we actually elect people in this country, how we form governments, I think should be actually taught. And no child should leave school without understanding proportional representation, single transferable votes, Dáil votes, the relationship of the Oireachtas between the Seanad and the Dáil. All of our institutions have functions, and those functions must be explained, and people must understand them. Because when you hear of a kid in Greystones who actually complained in the polling centre that Mary Lou MacDonald wasn't on his ballot paper, then you realise we have a problem, because he didn't even realise that you could vote for her only in her own constituency rather than as some sort of presidential candidate. And that's just remarkable, to be honest. Philip Nolan, columnist with the Daily Mail, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks. Now, a lot of texts and calls coming in. Teresa rang to say her husband is 80 in hospital over 3 months now, waiting for a procedure on his leg to happen. Last Wednesday he fasted until 6 p.m. They cancelled it again, and on Friday night I refused to leave until I spoke to a doctor. He was weak with 3 days of fasting. They were going to cancel again on Friday until I kicked off. My son also got involved, and at 11:30 on Friday night they finally operated. More comments coming in on the text machine. We will follow those up in a little while. Firstly, I have to go to the Waterford Business Awards and those vying for the categories that take place in the nominees for small business this year. Karen Tompkins has been meeting in the Doghouse, Dunmore Adventure Centre and DataWorks.
The Small Business of the Year category is sponsored by AIB Bank. First of the nominations is the Dunmore Adventure Centre. Dunmore Adventure is an award-winning adventure centre featuring unique land and water-based activities in a truly unique location. Situated in Dunmore East, in a sheltered cove ideal for water sports, the business has gone from strength to strength since it was established in 1993. It's owned and run by partners Karen Harris, Gavin Sweeney and Rupert Musgrave. Here's Karen Harris.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. It doesn't seem like 27 years, and I guess a lot has happened in between. We've grown a lot with the business. But back in the day, myself and my two colleagues, Gavin and Rupert, we were instructors actually working for other adventure centres around the country, and we were kind of like migrant. We'd work from place to place, but there was never any work in the wintertime. So we usually would end up, going to Dublin and working in the great outdoors, or there was Patagonia, it was a new outdoor shop that started up there, and myself and Rupert were working there. We decided, look, we wanted to take hold of our own destiny. Dunmore East was up and coming at the time because there had been a lot of BES investment. That's the Business Expansion Scheme. So a lot of holiday homes had been just built there. When I was growing up, if someone new came into the village in the summer, you'd know who they were and everything. It's a completely different place now. We kind of looked at it and said, let's give it a go. Adventure sports in Ireland at that time were more sort of like educational. There were outdoor education centres run by the local VECs. We kind of looked at it and thought, look, why not try and do a little bit of fun, have a bit of fun in this. So when we started out, we were it was really just kayaking, sailing and windsurfing, and I hired in somebody else to do horse riding. It was their business, but we felt we needed to have a land-based offering there as well. Nowadays, we have a good range of activities. We kind of know our customer fairly well. About 4 or 5 years ago, we bought into an aqua park with a company called Wibbit in Germany. They're a very good, progressive company. We were very lucky enough to get a grant from Leader that paid for half of this big new aqua park. It was about 60,000 quid at the time. We put a lot of money into it since then, but it's been worth it. And that that has been the main feature of our business over the last 5 years. It's something that people just hadn't seen before. And the aqua park basically is a floating obstacle course on the water with lots of different slides and swings and jumps, and it just really looks appealing, and it's great crack.
Dunmore Adventure Centre is considered one of the premier adventure sport venues in Ireland. It's no surprise, really. Its ethos has always been to offer adventure sports to all walks of life with the approach of fun and inclusion.
The customers there, as I say, are families, but also stag and hens this time of the year. So we have a lot of stag and hen parties that are visiting us as well, and they can do anything from, we've got giant stand-up paddle boards where you can get everybody on together, and they can do races and dodgeball, that sort of thing. And then we have the kayaking this time of the year. Coming into the summer, we've got the schools, first of all, May and June. So our national school tours are massive. We usually would welcome about 300 schools per year. We've started a transition year assistant instructor course that we're just piloting at the moment with Newtown School in Waterford. Having come into a business or started a business with absolutely no business background at all, really, I've learned over the last 27 years how things go. Sometimes we make mistakes and sometimes things work really well. During the winter time, we really get time to reflect and, as I say, and we think about what are we going to do for the next season. Our main aim is to retain our customers that we have. We have a good customer base, particularly with schools and camps and that sort of thing. It's not an easy thing owning a business for sure, but I think people who are entrepreneurs will know that there's just a kind of a buzz in it. You'll always hit walls, and you've got to get over those walls and carry on through. And that's the challenge of it all, and that's what I love anyway.
DataWorks is the next nominee. This year, DataWorks celebrates its 25th anniversary in business. They're one of the longest-serving tech companies in the southeast. Since 1995, they've helped leading life science companies to deliver better outcomes through digital transformation. Brian Robinson is the CTO.
Back in 2015, we won the customer service category. Actually celebrating our 25th year this year. We've been based in Waterford since we started in 1995. And what we started up doing was providing software solutions to local companies. Now, since then, we have branched outside of that. We're working in Galway, Limerick, Cork, Dublin, Wexford. And most of what we do is with the life science companies, so the pharmaceuticals and the medical device companies. And we provide not only software solutions but also validation services and managed maintenance services. We work with the Bosch and Lombs, the Sanofis, the Boston Scientifics, all of those large companies, on the ones that are on our doorstep. And as well, as we said, we work in Galway, Cork, Limerick, all around the country. We've got 43 at the moment. They're not all situated in Waterford. They're spread around, but most of them are based here.
Brian Robinson says being a small business operating on a national scale and based in Waterford has huge advantages.
In fairness, it was the reason that we stayed up here in the first place. Myself and my business partner, Liam Curran, we both left what was then Cromberg and Schubert to start up this business. But we were adamant that we would start it up in Waterford as opposed to travelling to Dublin and getting jobs there. So yes, we've always been very proud of our Waterford heritage. We've always pushed the Waterford angle as far as we could. And we've a great relationship with the local college, with the local chamber, with the local Crystal Valley Tech. So yeah, Waterford really does need to catch up with the rest of the country. And I think if you look at Galway, they have medical device companies. If you look at Cork, they've got pharmaceutical companies. I think Waterford has a great opportunity to be the IT hub of the country, and we're doing as much as we can to help that. The biggest challenge in our sector is recruitment. It is getting more and more difficult to find people now because if you look around the southeast, I think there's something like 50 to 60 companies very close to here that are also looking for people. So whereas before when we started up, there was 2 or 3 companies that would be taking people out of WIT. Most of those students would have been leaving and going elsewhere. And now all of those companies are trying to pick them up, so it is becoming more difficult. The opportunities at the moment are huge. I think what's happening in the IT industry, not just in IT, but in industry in general, manufacturing, there's a couple of things that are happening that are really, we're in a very good position to take advantage of. The likes of Industry 4.0, with all of the new tech that's coming into that, the likes of digital transformation, that's a buzzword, and the IT industry is great for buzzwords. But that's the buzzword that everybody's using at the moment. Now, we've been doing that for 25 years, to be honest. That is what we do. Between the team that we've kind of got together here, it's an absolutely fabulous team. We've got great partnerships with the people that we spoke about already. And these initiatives are coming down the stream. I think we're really looking forward to it. I think it's one of the most exciting times we have had since we started the company.
In the Doghouse is owned and run by Lindsay Power. Lindsay set up In the Doghouse in 2013 to offer a unique service to dogs and their owners in Waterford. She felt there were limited options for dog lovers to embrace their furry friends, and there was a need to offer a safe place to allow dogs to be dogs.
When I opened up first, we were the first of this type of business in the southeast. So we opened up with offering doggy daycare, dog training, dog grooming, limited sleepovers and a small shop. And that was back in 2013. We have steadily grown over the last 6.5 years, and we are currently now, I suppose, the largest of that type of facility still in the southeast. I found every bit of help at the time very beneficial because business wasn't my background. It wasn't something that I had set out to do as a child. It was, I didn't even do business studies in school. I was more science-based, and I always assumed that would be the direction I would have taken. But when I did decide this is what I wanted to do, I did have to get some mentoring from the enterprise board, or the local enterprise office as it's called now, and there was a lot of help out there, and with the chamber as well. It was nice to network with other business owners, get ideas, because as I said, being a business owner was, I kind of, it happened, but it wasn't what I had set out to do. So I had a lot of learning to do. We have 8 staff. We open in the morning at 7:45 and we close technically to the public at 6:30, but there's someone here till at least 9:30. And then on the weekends, you'd be looking at 12-hour shifts on the weekends. So there's a lot, but we do have, everyone's here that works full-time hours, so it's full on. We are constantly changing things. We were so busy coming up to opening up this place. We do have a few things in the pipeline for the coming next couple of months that are going to change up a little bit as well.
In the Doghouse comprises a state-of-the-art 9,000 square foot of indoor space spread across 2 floors and includes a luxury dog hotel, a luxury grooming parlour and a training area.
It's an ideal premises, in fairness it is. It took a long time to find a place that was suitable. We have done a lot of work here. So this was, custom built. It wasn't like this when we moved in. It was just a big shell. We've built everything here. So from upstairs, downstairs, it was specially designed with the doggy daycare and hotel in mind.
And those are your...
Karen, thank you very much for that. The awards are on this Friday night. Tickets available now. Quick mention. The dog, Millie the sheepdog from Butlerstown, has been found this morning. Brendan has just texted us in. He mentioned it on the breakfast show this morning. Also, best of luck to the Waterford Crystal Schoolgirls Academy doing the ball girls at the RSC tonight. From all the coaches and the committee, enjoy, girls. Come on the Blues. We will talk to you in the morning. Have a great day. Jeff is up next.